Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I have to apologize for such a long absence, but I did had my pregnancy videos filmed in advance, so whenever I turn the following week I would do an update for the previous one. So it turns out that my due date was 25th of January 2018, and baby number 2 actually decided to come a little bit earlier. So on 15th of January 2018 I actually gave birth to baby number 2, who is sitting next to me and is sleeping at the moment. So meet baby Dominic. It's a boy, and he was born as I said on 15th of January. He was 3.1 kilograms, so that's 6 pounds 15 ounces, and he came at 5:34 p.m. So hoping you can all understand the fact that I had to take some time off, and today he's actually 1 month old, and I'll probably do a 1 month baby update shortly. So that will be my next video going live hopefully next week. And we're doing great, everything was fine. He came 10 days earlier, so I was 38 weeks and 4 days when my labor started, and when I actually had him the same day. And I don't think I managed to, I was actually going to film my update, my pregnancy update for 37 weeks, and as well as my hospital bag and all that other stuff. And I didn't manage to do it because he decided to come earlier. So what can I do? I didn't even manage to do a belly cast because everything happened so fast, and when he decided to come, he came. He was determined he was gonna come on the 15th. So yeah, I was pretty much in denial, but maybe we should do this video all about my labor and delivery story, and if I get to convince my husband, maybe I can squeeze in some footage from the day that I gave birth and some birth footage as such. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So bear with me. On 15th of January, I woke up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I felt like what I thought was cramping. But it was quite regular cramping, and since it wasn't my first time, I kind of knew what was happening, and I knew that my labor is starting, but I was a little bit in denial because I was only 38 weeks and 4 or 5 days. So you would think when you're pregnant that you want to be closer to your due date so that the baby is, you know, as healthy as it can be. So I was thinking in my mind, no, this can't be, this is too early, this needs to stop somehow, you know, I want the baby to come closer to the 25th. And yeah, so I woke up, and then I went and had coffee as I always do, decaf, if you're wondering, and had my breakfast as usual. And I sort of told my husband, you know, I'm having contractions, I think I'm having contractions. They were pretty much, I don't know, like 10-15 minutes apart, and lasting about a minute. They weren't too painful, but I knew they were contractions, the real ones. So yeah, I called my midwife at like 8, I think, in the morning, and I said, I think I'm in labor, is there anything I can do to stop this? Because I don't want to give birth today. And she said, listen, if it's fine, don't worry about it, the baby's ready, but in hospital we do give paracetamol to women. I took 2 paracetamols hoping that this is gonna stop, and you know, baby can stay inside for another week or so. But no, that wasn't baby's plan. So then I went and took my son to nursery, because it was one of the days when he was going to nursery, and it was one of the most emotional days of my life. I would always remember when I dropped him off to nursery, I was feeling so emotional, thinking that it might be the last trip that we take, you know, just the 2 of us, and maybe when he comes home from nursery, the baby would have been here already, and it would have been mum of 2, and I was just so emotional. And I hugged him really hard, and I kissed him, and I almost didn't want to let go of him. I was just that emotional. But yeah, so I dropped him off and came home, pretty much, did the same, the usual stuff, that I do when I'm at home. Had lunch, blah, blah, blah. And my husband was in a different city, like 30, 40 minutes away. And he was just fixing a car or something, one of his cars. So I called him and I said, listen, my contractions are getting closer together. Do you think you could come home? Because I haven't actually told you that we were planning a home birth and a water birth as well. So we have had ordered a birth pool from La Bassine, and it was a big one, and it only arrived I think 2 days before I actually went into labor. And we didn't manage to actually see if it works, if it, it's got no leaks or anything. So I said, listen, do you want to come home and sort of start getting that ready before I actually call the midwives for them to come home? And yeah, that was, I think, at like 12 in the afternoon. So he said, yeah, I'll be home shortly. He was sort of in denial that I was going to give birth that day. And then I called the triage, so the hospital, the birth center where I would have gone if any complications would have arisen. So I said, listen, I think I'm in labor. Do you think one of the midwives can get in touch with me? I'm planning a home birth, and they knew all about it anyway. So the midwife called me and she said, she just sort of listened my symptoms, and he's so adorable. He's sitting next to me. And she said, yeah, I'll try and be there at around 3 o'clock, that afternoon. So she came in and my contractions were getting pretty much closer together, but they were never really consistent in terms of interval. They were always like maybe like 5 or 6 minutes apart. They were like, my contractions were actually 5 or 6 minutes apart at that stage, and they were lasting about a minute long. So the midwife, when she got here, she said, can I check you? And I wasn't so keen on internal exams, but I said, okay, since you're here, let's do an initial check, and then hopefully we won't need any further checks until I give birth. So she checked me and she said, actually, you're like 6 to 7 centimeters dilated. And I was like, what? Are you serious? Because it didn't feel like that bad. But one of the things that really, really helped is hypnobirthing breathing. I've actually practiced some breathing techniques from the positive birth company. I think that's how it's called. I'll link it in my description box below, so if you want to check it out. But she has the best breathing techniques for the labor stage and for actually the pushing stage, and I think it helped so much. It made me feel so relaxed and sort of in control of my body and my contractions and everything else. So because I was doing that breathing thing, I was just so focused on my contractions and not the pain, if that makes sense. So she said, you're probably going to have the baby in a couple of hours, and that was at 3:30 in the afternoon. So that's when we actually started setting up the birthing pool, and we filled it up, we inflated it and filled it up. That was my husband downstairs actually, because I was planning to have the home birth in here in the living room. So he did that, and I think it was ready at like 5 p.m. and I gave birth at 5:30. So it was just about, I almost missed my home birth, my water birth. Sorry, just my thoughts are just all over the place thinking about the birth, but it was just so straightforward. It was as easy as it can be. Obviously, it was really, really painful, and I had no pain medication. Except some Etanox, which is the gas and air, right when I started pushing, because I literally got in the birth pool a few minutes before I felt the pressure to push, and yeah, the baby came out like naturally at 5:34 in the afternoon. I picked him up and I sort of put him on my chest, and he was still connected through the umbilical cord, and he cried almost immediately, so that was really good. And I even forgot to look at the sex because we didn't know the sex, and then the midwife said, so what is it? And I looked and I said, yeah, it's a boy. And we were so excited and so happy because we didn't care about the sex. We just wanted a healthy baby and a really positive experience, which we did have in the end. Everything was exactly like I planned it to be. The only thing that didn't actually happen naturally was that I couldn't deliver the placenta as soon as as soon as I gave birth to him. Sort of my contractions just stopped completely, so I couldn't push the placenta out naturally. So after like 45 minutes of waiting, they asked me if they could give me the injection in my leg to sort of help release the placenta, which I accepted because I've already had a delayed cord clamping and he was already detached from me at that stage. So I was fine with it, and we did it, and we, you know, placenta was released and it came out and it looked healthy and everything. And then it was just unbelievable. No one actually in my family could believe how positive and just relaxing, and it was just amazing. I would recommend a home birth to anyone that has a low risk pregnancy, and the midwives were just amazing. I cannot thank them enough for just being there with me and the support and everything. They weren't like asking me questions every other minute or so. They just let me be. And obviously I've noticed something though with the home birth. There was a bit more not intervention. There was a bit more monitoring from their side, and that's because obviously it was a home birth, and they probably wanted to monitor the baby and myself throughout the labor stages. And she checked the baby's heartbeat like during a contraction and after a contraction, and she was always asking me for consent before doing that and if I'm okay with it. And you know, they were really mindful about what they were doing, and they didn't want to bother me too much, you know. I also had a student midwife attending the birth, and she was amazing as well. It was actually her first birth, so if she sees me online, you know, thank you so much for being here, and I will always remember you and the lead midwives as well. And yeah, this video is going to be a little bit all over the place, but if you have any specific questions about my home birth, or if you'd like me to do another video on this, let me know, because I had also planned to do a video on my home birth kit, which I didn't got to do in the end. Everything was obviously packed and all that, but I just didn't manage to do the video. And in the end, I didn't even use my kit because the midwife, they brought with them everything that was needed. So, and they cleaned up after themselves. Everything was, you know, like they found it to begin with. So there was no mess, no nothing like that. And yeah, he came on this world and he was very healthy, and he's got a lot of hair, despite that I didn't have any heartburn throughout my pregnancy. So to all of those believers of old wives' tales, I don't believe them anymore. So yeah, he's doing great. He's gaining weight like crazy. I'm breastfeeding, same as I did my first son. And yeah, his name is Dominic Aston, like I said, so his middle name is Aston. And he's such a sweetheart and such a good baby. I will do his 1 month update, in which I'm going to tell you what he's done throughout this month. And Aiden is being such a good brother. I forgot to mention that right before I gave birth, my husband went to pick up Aiden from nursery. And after he didn't attend birth, by the way. He was outside with grandpa, and right after I gave birth, and I had Dominic on my chest. We brought Aiden in so he could meet the baby. Oh, he's waking up. He's waking up. There he is, baby Dominic. Oh, he is hungry though, so I'm gonna try and feed him here. So yeah, he came and he met baby Dominic, and he remembers that baby came from mommy's belly, and that's pretty much all he remembers, and that we took a bath together, and it is so adorable. But he loves his baby brother so much. He gives him kisses and cuddles, and he's such a good helper as well. He brings me nappies and all that, and he's not showing any signs of jealousy so far, so that's been really good. But I'll tell you more about this in my next video when we do his 1 month update. And yeah, thank you so much for watching my pregnancy videos, and I will do some more videos from now on. Hopefully you've not been watching me or following me just because I was pregnant, and maybe because you like me a little bit and you like my personality and the videos that I put up. And yeah, I will see you again next time for another video. Bye YouTube.